Hello, you're listening to the Robot Wars History Podcast, a podcast where we chart the development of the show and the British robot combat scene in general by looking at key teams and bots. Today with me is Dan.
Hello.
And TG.
Hello.
And today we are covering Team Cold Fusion from Series 1 to 4.
Whoa.
Yes, indeed. Alright, so Team Cold Fusion, as they were known for their background, I think it was they all worked in nuclear physics, was that correct?
I think at least Robin Herrick worked in nuclear physics.
Yeah. And so, most famously, at least in these early days, the team was formed from Robin Herrick, early appearances by Andrew Dayton Lovett. Steve Jones appeared in Series 1, was subsequently replaced by David Gribble. Robert Beddington would subsequently appear, and Alan Gribble sort of rounds out our early stages of this team. Alan Gribble, of course, was a big part of the team behind the scenes, presumably through his and David's introduction onto the team. But for the most part, the team that we all knew was Robin Herrick, Robert Beddington, and David or Alan Gribble. The team debuted in Series 1 with Bodyhammer before going on to create the more well-known and more successful Pussycat in Series 3. So we will begin with the copper-coloured cone, as Jonathan Pierce would describe it, debuting in Heat E. And let's talk about Bodyhammer.
Yeah, Bodyhammer. I mean, it's weird to think that it's weird because Team Cold Fusion is kind of a lot like kind of Chaos, where they have what is on paper their second biggest success in the first series. Well, Team Chaos obviously has bigger success, but it has great success in Series 1. But it's easy to forget that it ever happened because it's so different from what they went on to build.
In terms of difference between the famous one and the one that came before, I think it's only surpassed by Firestorm.
Yep. It's a very Series 1 machine, Bodyhammer. And by all accounts, it's actually not a bad design. It's
so
Series
it's not
1.
A very Series 1 machine then.
Series 1. You look at the grand final. You've literally got they're all basically just shapes. Tracy's a triangle. Tracy's a rectangle. Bodyhammer's a cone. Cunning Plan's like a trapezoid. Roadblog's a triangle. Recyclops is like a semicircle, and Robot the Bruce is like a square. So it's really just like the weaponized shapes.
This is how I played Robot Wars before I had any of the toys.
One thing I do like about Bodyhammer is in its intro, JP bigs up its drill motor drivers, 4 power tool motors, which I think every featherweight in the UK scene would be like very happy to hear that.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
97 was a different time.
Yes, it certainly was. So, Bodyhammer, as its name would indicate, had a hammer. It almost never worked. I don't think they ever used it.
You'd barely know it.
I don't think they successfully used it in battle ever, because it had broken by the Heat final, but it had certainly, and I don't think they used it against Talk of the Devil, but it was just a weaponized wedge, much like, a lot of the other early success robots. It was, those who can drive in a straight line without breaking down was the success of Series 1.
Yeah, which was a surprisingly difficult bar to clear.
Yes, absolutely. Bodyhammer was really built for the maze route in the gauntlet. It did very well sort of with the narrow turning circle of having to turn around those sharp, tight corners. I think it came... Did it come second in the gauntlet? Third. It came third in the gauntlet, having completed it. And then it went on to the Labyrinth, where all it really had to do was do better than our favourite robot, Psycho Sprout, to get through.
Which means it had to work, basically.
Yeah. There was a bit of a...
Labyrinth was a bizarre trial.
I don't mind the Labyrinth, and of course, it goes back to the whole... That was really Bodyhammer's strength. It was so narrow, relatively. It was really designed for turning sharp corners, so you can see why they put it in. Like the labyrinth, it's one of those trials that makes you think, you know what, they definitely designed the trials based on the robots they had in the tournament. Like stock car obviously being a whole separate thing, but you know, episode 1 you've got Kilotron, Roadblock, and Barry, whereas you know episode 5 you've got Full Metal Anorak, Reality, and Bodyhammer. You know, you weren't going to put Psycho Sprout up against Shunt in the sumo, were you?
Wow, it would have been funny.
Yeah, it would have been probably about as good as the Series 4 sumo performances.
Wow, that good.
Yeah, but Bodyhammer sort of, I don't know, the producers seemed to just really love Bodyhammer because they kept giving it a pass. Like, it's pretty clear that it came fourth in the labyrinth just by looking at where everyone is at the end. But the producers said that it came second, and then they sort of drew it against the third best of the 3 robots still in the contention.
I mean, it's not hard to see why, because if you look at the other robots in the seat, you've got Torque, which kind of looks like a primary school art project.
The pioneer of the vertical spinner, I'll have you know.
You've got Reality, which JP literally describes as cold spaghetti, and then you've got Bodyhammer, which is like this kind of, it's this sleek looking like copper cone. It just looks so much better than everything else in the seat, so it's kind of easy to see why they kind of favour it.
It's hard to dispute that.
Yeah, and that's quite sad that this was the best looking robot there, but you know...
Oh, come on, Dan, it's Series 1. Don't be such a hater. We'll get to...
No. I love how crap Series 1 is. It's great. But it's crap.
Anyway. So, they go up against Talk of the Devil, and they do win fairly convincingly, which is good for them. Back in the days when you could immobilise a robot by pushing it onto the sidebars.
Wow.
Different times. Series 10 Grand Final, but there are sidebars. Anyone?
It's
a more likely way for Behemoth to beat Eruption. Anyway. Remember back in the days when we would make jokes like that, but the show was still on, and we'd make a joke about how Carbide would never lose to Eruption, and then like 3 months later it did? Well, at least now the show's off the air, we can make jokes like this, and, you know, there's no repercussions.
There's one benefit, yes. Its fight against Reality is unfortunate, because Reality legitimately, like, immobilizes Bodyhammer.
It does, yeah.
I always felt very
because
sad.
It looks a lot better, basically.
Yeah, and it was like, I mean, before there was a pit, like there was no pit in Series 1. Was there a pit in the Gauntlet in Series 1? I don't even think there was then. Was there?
God, I'm trying to remember. I don't
think so. I think they brought the pit in when they had the Sentinel, at least.
Yeah, because I mean, they'd have to build it in the arena, and if they had it, they wouldn't not use it.
Yeah. So in Series 1, the equivalent of the pit was the grill, because that was back when everyone had little spindly, like, shopping trolley wheels. And, you know, if you pushed somebody with a shopping trolley wheels onto a grate, then the wheels would fall between the slots, and you literally couldn't drive off. And so that's what sort of happened. And Shunt came to the rescue, and Reality, to its credit, really does try and stop what it knows is coming. They're like, oh, these guys are just going to free them. All right. And Reality drives onto the grill in an attempt to stop Shunt rescuing Bodyhammer. Shunt and Reality end up caught on the grill, and Reality's wheel just like breaks off because it can't drive off again. So
the house robots were a law unto themselves in Series 1.
Yeah.
They just did whatever the fuck they felt like, and sometimes they decided fights that they really shouldn't have.
Yeah. And I mean, it's hard to sort of say whether Reality would have made a big difference in the grand final, because as we're about to discuss, Bodyhammer contributes absolutely nothing to the grand final. It is the only one of the 6 robots to do absolutely nothing.
Well, to be fair, it survived.
Yeah.
It employed the Eruption 10 robot rumble tactic.
Yeah. Darkest Timeline, where Roadblock breaks down and Bodyhammer wins Series 1 by surviving.
Oh god, that is terrible. Never say
Yeah.
that.
I think Bodyhammer basically makes it because they're harder to push. Like Robot the Bruce is this big thing on massive wheels that's floating above the ground. It's easy to get under. The Cyclops, it's not really ground scraping. I mean, I'm fairly sure the shell is made out of paper mache. Bodyhammer's kind of close to the floor, so it's harder for Roadblock to just get under it and like turn it over. So I think that's most of it. But also, as you said, it keeps out of the way a lot.
Yeah. I think you're right, and I think that Bodyhammer being faster, Roadblock was not the fastest robot, and so it was able to overturn Robot the Bruce and rip the guts out of Recyclops because they're both ponderous as well. Whereas Bodyhammer, there's that one image you can see of Roadblock. It's just got the tip of its wedge underneath Bodyhammer, but Bodyhammer's fast enough to prevent from, unless it was driving towards the wedge, which Robin Herrick's smart enough not to do. It can sort of, as long as it just keep that little bit ahead of Roadblock, it was never really going to be in danger. But I think a large part of it is that a lot of the grand final is eaten up by the Roadblock on Recyclops action, and by the time that's over, most of the time limit has run down.
Yeah. So after that, it with a stunning second place, it gets passed over for the second.
Technicality, it did not come second. They all came second. There's no official second place. Anyone who calls Bodyhammer second place is like my biggest pet peeve in Robot Wars.
It was the last robot standing aside from Roadblock, and it was the other one on the docket for the judge's decision. Yes, it was never going.
It's like saying Apollo came 7th. Like officially, Apollo came 7th in Series 10. Like there was no official, honor.
Well, either way, while it could well have been awarded the second seed for Series 2, they gave that to Mortis instead because, I don't know, Mortis existed. So it was seeded. It was given the third seed. And to complement its new honour, it was given not one but 2 new paint jobs. And also the name became completely obsolete because they didn't even try to fix the hammer. They just stuck a saw blade in it.
Yeah, body saw.
Yeah, body saw. They were pioneering. This is the one evolutionary link between Bodyhammer and Pussycat.
Yeah, Bodyhammer is a cocoon and Pussycat is like a moth or a butterfly.
Yeah. You can see where they've just cut a slot in the front plate of it and stuck the saw in that and just covered up the slot where the hammer was meant to be.
Yeah, I can just see Bodyhammer, David Attenborough commentating on Pussycat's blade pushes out until Bodyhammer splits in half, and then Pussycat's just there, fully formed in the middle.
Yeah,
of the shell.
Just unfolds into this new robot.
Yeah, and a gestating cocoon would probably have done better than Bodyhammer in the gauntlet.
It would have gone further.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you subscribe to the idea that Bodyhammer was second in Series 1, then its Series 2 is the most disappointing thing that could happen. I mean, it's like if after fighting Muhammad Ali, Smoking Joe Frazier followed up in his next match, he tripped on his shoelaces walking into the ring and got knocked out. That's how bad the gauntlet is.
Yeah.
Imagine if in the first round of Series 9 Heat E, Carbide just drives into the pit.
That's literally what it's like. Yeah, they can't even get past the first hurdle. They literally get stuck on the entrance to the ramp.
The only thing that's worse would be getting stuck in the turnstile. That's the only thing they could have. That's the only achievement that they managed to pass.
Yeah, to be fair, that's more than quite a lot of robots could manage.
Yeah, it's better than Wedgehog. No, not Wedgehog. Warthog. It's much better than Warthog.
Yeah.
Fortunately, I guess you could say for Bodyhammer, that is not the end of their Series 2 story, for they are in the internet insurrection, and this is surprising. Their website is still up. It is still accessible.
Oh, wow. I love watching like JP's analysis of the websites and looking at like that 1998.com sort of aesthetic on websites. It's just a thing of beauty. He's like, check out this design and look at how impressive this is. And I'm like, oh my god, it is so archaic. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I would have loved. I would have loved just let's do a quick aside. Internet insurrection set in 2019.
Oh, it'd just be Facebook. It'd just be Facebook pages. There'd be none.
It'd be Facebook pages, and it would be like hello, this internet insurrection is brought to you by Squarespace.
Oh god.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Raid Shadow Legends.
Bodyhammer lasts till the end here for a very similar reason to the grand final. It's kind of awkward bot to attack because it's all these slopes, shapes, and if you're in TV,
I just realised this is a grudge match from the Series 1 Grand Final because they're up against Oliver Steeples and Griffin.
Oh dear.
And to be fair, Bodyhammer actually does pull a cunning plan on Dead Metal.
Yeah.
What a thing.
To be fair, it's because Dead Metal is like floating. So a low cone like Bodyhammer is going to strand them, but they do last to the end, and they do get a lot more stuck in than they did in the grand final. So fair play to them.
Yeah.
But, Robin Herrick would go onto the website and give a lot of credit for David Gribble's debut driving performance. That goes to beg the question: was David Gribble driving in the Gauntlet run?
Wow.
I really hope not.
No,
well, maybe it was his first time on this. Maybe it was his first time.
Yeah, because if he did, then that might be like the Bulldog breed or the Smidsy as far as the debut. It's like this someone who is consistently this quality, and this is their first performance. But let's not ask too many questions about that.
Yeah, that would be that would somewhat diminish the whole best driver on Robot Wars thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
well, let's talk about that now because I think we're sort of done on Bodyhammer. That's pretty much everything there is to say. They were retired when the Cocoon split, and then from emerging was the Series 3 iteration of Pussycat, which was pretty much the same iteration and same design all the way through. But let's talk about David Gribble because
we'll do have to correct you slightly there. The Series 3 build of Pussycat has the top of the robot is sort of... There's an indent there, so the saw is more central rather than being on the outside.
Yeah.
I mean, I do want to talk about the basic design of Pussycat a bit, because it's pretty ingenious, because, I mean, at a time when everyone is, like, scrambling to get Self-Writers after Cassius and
Wedges.
Chaos 2...
Pussycat wedges are still quite a new thing.
Exactly, yeah. Pussycat comes up with a design that cannot be flipped.
Yeah.
Like, you can't immobilize this thing by turning it over.
You kind of can. If it was vulnerable to side stranding.
But even then, its wheels are still on the ground, and it was never able to be like immobilized. It can be flipped and side stranded, but it can't be immobilized.
Yeah. It's one of those wonderful artifacts of old Robot Wars, because you could not bring this design today.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't.
It would not work.
If you wanted to shove on a
because
spinner,
it would be bringing wheels into the Robot Wars arena.
Like anything. Yeah. It's also like, I think, totally unique in Robot Combat. Like, the only other design I know that looks like Pussycat is when the Twister team ripped them off in Series 6. That's the only other design I've seen like them. So
Killer Cat tried to do something similar in Series 7, but on like a Bronze Age to Iron Age kind of way.
Yeah, that one you could very much side strand.
Yeah. So let's talk about David Gribble, because for a very, very long time, and rightly so, David Gribble is pretty much number one, or maybe number two, in almost unanimously among Robot Wars fans as the best driver on Robot Wars.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
Hell of a reputation. Like, a lot of people like to... like to say that he got lucky, and maybe luck was part of it, but the man was brilliant at getting just like sniping just crucial parts.
I mean, he was to make a robot like Pussycat as successful as it was. You've got to be pretty good. I'd personally rank him maybe number 2, but it's impossible. Probably, ironically enough, the bot he beat like twice, Ian Lewis, but yeah, it's undeniable.
Was Ian Lewis actually the yeah? Like I definitely agree.
I think Ian was the weapon operator, wasn't he?
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm pretty sure Simon Scott was the driver. We always say it's Ian Lewis, but isn't Simon Scott the driver?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Simon that was at the controls of the actual road.
Yeah, Simon was definitely the captain, and Ian was definitely most of the builder. But yeah,
maybe
I'm not sure.
maybe I'm being baffled by whoever got the most camera time, but whoever was at the Sticks of Razor, I think it was Ian Lewis.
Yeah.
I think I'd put them at 1, but I mean, it's impossible to deny that like David Gribble was like a genuine like driving master.
Yeah, but I would definitely still say David Gribble number 1, and like if you take into account some more recent ones like Michael Oates, and we've sort of there's been a few others who we've subsequently given more credit to, but at the time it was pretty much the conversation began and ended with Nick Adams, Kim Davis, and David Gribble. They were pretty much 1, 2, like those were the top 3, and pick your order.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, and like Graham Bone, I suppose, as well. It's definitely up there.
Yeah, gradually more and more of the top tier from the classic series started getting attention. Like Ian Watts started getting some credit, and the boys get along.
Tornado.
I think what's notable there is a fair few you mentioned have big like broad wedges that they can just.
Yes.
It's hard to miss with them. Pussycat had this tiny weapon, this incredibly thin weapon that it used to great effect.
And what looked like a very complicated drive design, because it had 4 wheels, and it could move when it was caster down one way, caster down the other way, or all 4 wheels on the ground. Now, does that mean you've got to be able to make adjustments mid-fight, whereas Panic Attack and Wild Thing, for example, they're either on their wheels facing their opponent, or they're not.
Exactly, and it's not like America where you stood right next to the box. Like, all these British drivers were watching from like a fair few like feet up.
Yeah, 15, 20 feet up and at least 20, 30 feet away.
Yeah. This Series 3 Pussycat isn't quite the beast it'll become, because at this time they're still using like pretty much totally ineffective. Yeah, tool blades. A totally ineffective blade.
Do you want to know something interesting about that though? Apparently, the reason that they were using tool blades was because they were working on a purpose-made disc, but it wasn't ready in time. And a part of me thinks, what if that purpose-made disc was the Series 4 disc?
Oh, Jesus wept.
The Series 3 with the Series 4 Pussycat.
Yeah, I genuinely don't. I think Pussycat would probably contend for the title there.
We'd probably get the Series 4 Grand Final a series early. I think with a result maybe, but
yeah, no, it does, because that runs into Scudder's Revenge, which is 101, which is Hypnodisc. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah. But yeah, they didn't, or perhaps fortunately, they didn't have this disc yet, and their first fight is Hammerhead, and it's weird because Hammerhead on the face of it looks such an obvious winner against this weird Pussycat, because it's a much more, as a design, it makes a lot more sense. It's got this wedge in the front, it's got a weapon in the hammer, but it's just
it's got 4 wheels that are sort of like a car.
Yeah, it's just way too slow.
Yeah.
Pussycat basically attacks at will.
Yeah. I love the pitting that Pussycat gets. Like, it feels so weird that Pussycat gets a pitting. Like
all the bots.
What?
Yeah.
And to get it by reversing, like, it reverses it into the pit. That's even weirder.
You don't imagine Pussycat as a pusher. Yeah.
No.
You don't think it can push, but it has a flat backside, which is good for pushing.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really... What's really interesting is in Series 3, Pussycat would enter the arena standing up, whereas Series 4 onwards, it would sort of start in its default iconic pose that we would all know, which was the sideways pose.
Yeah.
Like, cast her down?
Yeah. The way everybody knows Pussycat. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
But Pussycat was
it
really
gets-
more of a grinding blade in this. It was sort of abrasive, and it was sort of would grind against its opponents. Really had to go at those exposed wheels.
Yeah.
So
Of
yeah,
course,
very...
Then it ends up against a robot that doesn't have anything exposed.
And yet
surprisingly-
another Series 1 Grand Final grudge match.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Cassius 2. And this is not the sort of fight you'd expect to be happening in round 2 of any old heat.
Yeah,
Well-
unless you get to Series 9 or 10.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, series. I mean,
So
at
having no
series 3.
seeds.
At series 3, they do not. I mean, the early series did not care about past performance. I mean, series 2 didn't
No.
even. Series 2, I think Griffin was like a reserve or something. But I mean,
Yeah, it's sort of... Yeah.
Oh, it's a TR2 situation.
yeah, Pussycat doesn't win this so much as Cassius loses it. I mean, Cassius is kind of unfortunate because the thing is about Cassius too, like, despite all its drive troubles, the mere fact that it can flip would still take out a lot of robots in Series 3, but Pussycat
Oh,
is
absolutely.
one of them. And
Yeah.
this is sadly Cassius just bottles it, slams it right into the pit.
Yeah. Heat M really is just absolutely stacked. Like, you've got Cassius and Pussycat, who are both former grand finalists. You've got Scudder's Revenge, who would eventually become the Heat winner and become a 4-time semi-finalist. You've got Dundee, who I suppose is a former Heat finalist. Who else have you got in this one?
Thermidor.
Thermidor and Plunderbird. Like, there's
Yeah.
5 or 6 future/previous semi-finalists in one episode. And by
And
Series
then you've
3
got,
standards,
like,
it's a
Zeus.
really excellent episode.
Yeah, and then there's Zeus.
Zeus. Future Kronos.
Poor Zeus.
Yeah, but I really do want to give David Gribble Pussycat for the way, it's like he sees the Cassius charge coming and just ducks out of the way just at the last second. It's very hard to call it a fluke because they really do wait until Rex is like full on going for the charge.
Pretty sure it was Mick Cutter.
Yeah,
at the controls
Mick
for
Cutter
this
is Mick Cutter low-key, like
Mick.
one of the worst drives in Robot Wars.
Oh, poor Mick Cutter.
To be fair, he's
Just because he ditched Team Chaos the year that they
to
won.
be fair, but I think Cassius drove at like 25 to 30 miles an hour, which is too fast.
fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's excessively fast.
And that's the other thing. These two machines can both accelerate at ridiculous paces.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that puts Pussycat through. And then in this one, this is where they remove the grinding saw and replace it with a hardened steel blade. And the
can I just
rest,
say, this is,
as they say,
this
is history.
This has some of the worst JP foreshadowing I've ever heard. Because literally in the opening seconds of this fight, he's like, "Is that a different blade?" Like, oh, is it? I wonder what could happen here.
Yeah, no, you
Yeah.
you know that this is the point where you can tell that this fight has obviously been scripted a certain way because Jonathan Pierce actually is observant and is saying things accurate rather than just yelling about things that are sort of happening on screen but not really.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, like, even in Series 10, when we had things like the nut guards with concussion, it's like, oh, gee, I wonder if that's going to backfire. But even that, because it was Angela in the pits, it was like, well, they filmed this before the fight, whereas JP, it's all post-production. So anything JP's talking about, you know that he's seen the entire fight a couple of times before he's commentated. So, yeah, anything he talks about is going to be important.
Yeah, I mean, it's, because, Pussycat, I think the story is that, I think it was Alan Gribble, they didn't have anything ready, and so he picked up, like, a blade from home and brought it to the pits, but it happened to be hardened, which was banned, and it shattered, and, I mean, from what we know of Series 3, from the Series 3 arena, one great story being that at one point they had to ban the kids from banging on it because it was literally loose. A hardened steel blade is a bit of a security issue. Don't want a 4-year-old getting his head chopped off in because Pussycat put a wrong blade on. So despite the fact that Spawn of Scooter suffers a classic Scutterbot reliability issue, Pussycat has to go out here, which is unfortunate because it legitimately won the fight.
Yeah. It's disappointing. But well, rules are rules, and you know, safety concerns were quite an issue during those early series of Robot Wars.
The unfortunate thing is, I think if they'd used the same blade in the previous fights here, I mean, against 101 they might win because they've got a weapon that can at least throw off sparks or dust or something. They could have gone to the grand final. I mean, if they beat 101, they fight barely working Hypnodisc. So I mean, they could have gone to the grand final here, which would have been crazy.
Yeah, it would have been, you know. It would have been
Pussycat versus Stegosaurus would have been interesting.
I think Stego will pretty comfortably win that.
I reckon they probably would as well, to be honest, because we saw how much it took for Hypnodisc to bring them down, and I just don't know if Pussycat can do that.
Pussycat's not going to damage him, and Steg's drive power would just be them slamming Pussycat around. So
as we'll see in part 2, Pussycat doesn't really handle powerful Rambots that well.
Yeah.
So,
well, it would basically be Pussycat versus Scudder's Revenge, but without the breakdown. Because Scudder's Revenge does get some fairly good pushes on Pussycat where it shoves it into the arena wall, which is like the only part of the fight that I remember is the blade break, and then Scudder's Revenge sort of like pushing it up against the wall. Everything after that, like I don't really remember it because it's not a very memorable fight at all.
No, it's not. It's not a great one.
Yeah. I remember back before he passed away, I actually did have an email exchange with Alan Gribble because that was back in the early days of the wiki. I sort of tried to track down as many Roboteers as I could. And he was great. I sort of asked him, so what did you think about that? Because he sort of was on the team but wasn't on the team. And his words were basically he thought the decision was really harsh. He said there was no advantage from using the blade. And in the end, they won without it. So he did think it was pretty harsh. But it's not really something that you can have an opinion on because it was such a different time.
Yeah, I think it's just unfortunate. I mean, you kind of send even when Philippa's like talking to him into pits afterwards, you can tell she thinks it's just unfortunate because she's very much like, I'm very sorry, but we have to do this. Which, I mean, you don't want like some kiddie getting his head chopped off because Alan Gribble picked out the wrong blade, do you? So an example had to be made, but thankfully that issue would not happen again in their next series because Pussycat returns with a proper blade and it instantly becomes one of the best robots in the arena.
Oh yeah. Look, they start as they mean to go on in this, where they just sever a fuel line and Repteron and it catches fire like seconds into the fight.
I mean,
it's such an amazing display.
If we're leaping into this Repteron fight, I mean, in general, I think Pussycat Series 4 run is one of the best of all time. But this Repteron fight,
without a doubt,
is such a perfect beginning because there couldn't be a starker contrast between Series 3 Blade and Series 4 Blade because they kill Repteron in 3 hits. The first two hits disable the weapon almost immediately, and then with a single hit to the side, like they just kill Repteron's drive utterly.
Yeah. I do. Before we go too far into this, I do want to talk quickly about the seeding. So they were seeded 19th, which was a fairly good seeding, I think. It's about on par with former semi-finalists like King Buxton and some stuff like that. But what's really telling is back before Trident and Blade's big brother dropped out, Pussycat was seeded 21st, presumably, which means that it was going to be in with Firestorm 2 and King B3 was going to be in with Razor. And doesn't that make a lot more sense with what they were looking for?
Yeah. Give Razor a nice flat box to chew.
Yeah.
Yeah. And but knowing Razor's luck, there's a chance that they would somehow shut against King.
Well, that's
King
right.
But probably not before King B caught fire, so,
Yeah.
I mean, we'll get to that.
With like Robo Chicken in the semi-finals or something like that. So Yeah, so that would have been really interesting. So Pussycat up against Firestorm 2. We would see them fight later on, but I think that I'd probably back Pussycat against Firestorm 2.
Maybe. I
What do
think
you
it'd be
reckon?
I think it'd be one of those close.
I'd lean that way, I think.
It's impossible to tell because there's a chance Firestorm like overrides the damage enough through like aggression and control. It's one of those ones I can't. It's one of those ones I can't call, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think relative to the competition, relative to the standard of robots that are around at the time, Firestorm 2 is the weakest entry in the Firestorm series.
Yeah, and the judges were not at all impressed with Firestorm 2 because they lost to Dominator 2 in a fight that really was small damage versus high aggression and small damage
Yeah,
won.
I'm sure Pussycat can do more damage than Dominator.
Well, we'll get to that very shortly.
Oh yeah, we will.
So that was my slight digression, but yeah. So Pussycat being put in Razor's heat, I don't think it sort of would have flagged any alarm bells until this fight, where you think, ooh, all of a sudden this is a bit of a contest now.
This robot is a contender.
Yeah.
It only goes on to add to that in the next fight with Robo Chicken, where it starts ripping holes in Robo Chicken.
Yeah.
This is the thing I love about I love about Pussycat in Series 4. Like, this is still at a point where such a thin blade can tear chunks out of a ball.
Yeah, I love that where the silver that covers Robo Chicken's wheels and just sort of slices through it like it's aluminium foil.
The thing is, this is the kind of damage Pussycat does is a damage we don't really see anymore, because it kind of leaves these rips and gouges in Pussycat in Robo Chicken, sorry, whereas like nowadays if this was like a big vert spinner,
like Aftershock,
like Robo Chicken, it just like destroy it,
and it would flip it over.
You don't really get any.
Look at
it'd flip it over, rip chunks out of it. Whereas even at the end of this, Robo Chicken, God bless it, it's still like alive, even though it's got all these like rips in it and the like flipper panels all peeled up.
Yeah, and they even get a flip on Pussycat, which is really impressive because, that puts you in the competition of like Cassius, really.
Yeah.
Good for you.
I don't think it's too impressive to get a flip on Pussycat. If you can get a flip that does something, maybe.
Yeah, but I mean, even still, it just shows that Robo Chicken was having a go at taking a win. I love that shot of Pussycat with the blades like dug into Robo Chicken, and they push it into the arena wall and sort of lift up and overturn Pussycat themselves while Robo Chicken's still pushed into the wall. It's just, again, you wouldn't think Pussycat was a pusher, but here it is.
It is. Yeah, it's got a surprising amount of drive power in it.
Yeah, well, I suppose it happens when you got big chunky wheels like that.
Yeah, it's a wonderful looking robot as well. And
yeah, it really is. Like, and I love the blue. The blue was a really nice addition.
Yeah, they've changed up the color scheme from the black and silver they had in the previous series. It's got that image of the cat on it, which whatever the deco for the toy was, they completely destroyed the image of that cat.
Yeah,
it's a bit hard to do that. It's a bit hard to do that image in proper detail.
They managed it on the fucking mini-bot.
Fair enough. Yeah, I think that's something to be remarked upon. The name is genius.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's my favourite name. The only name that even comes close is Kamen-Getorix. Like, it's just the best. Like, it always lands on its feet. Like, that is so funny and brilliant, it fits.
And it even fits with like the weapon. Like, what do you imagine with a cat like attacking? It's like scratching you, which is kind of what Pussycat does.
My cat sliced a hole in my toe once. You know, he's a bit of a vicious sometimes, but yeah. But so I suppose there's no point in avoiding it for any longer. A fight that has gone down in history as one of the more infamous moments of Robot Wars. Pussycat versus Razor, round 1.
This fight is astonishing because it starts off one of the greatest rivalries in Robot Wars, I think. And I say rivalries in scare quotes here because Okay.
A rivalry generally
In the
implies that one of the robots have a reasonably even win-loss record again.
Yeah,
That's not the
because
case.
if you accept the breakdowns, like Razor's defeat, at least in the UK, it comes down to two things: Tornado of the Cage or Team Cold Fusion. On at least every time they fight, Team Cold Fusion defeat Razor, and this is where it starts.
The thing is, you look at this, and you've got like Razor with its ground-scraping wedge and that massive beak, and then you've got against a robot that is literally made of ground clearance.
Yeah.
This fight that Razor should win, and it doesn't.
It
Twice.
doesn't even really get started. Like,
No.
it's so much shorter than you remember because it really does just last a few seconds and raises in forward drive almost the entire fight.
It's pretty unfortunate, really, because I mean, what happened to Razor here was like it was like a small little switch inside got dislodged by the Pussycat hit, and from then on they were in forward drive, and maybe it might have been. I think the reason Pussycat kept attacking because famously they kept attacking because they weren't gentlemen, they didn't hold back.
Yeah. Well,
I think I think it was part genuine fear because you don't want to let Razor
yeah,
get
and
back
like,
in control.
and
Yeah.
like, its wheels are still turning, so it's clearly still alive. So it's not dead. Hit it again. And
I also think it might have just been them getting lost in it. Like we want
Yeah.
to make sure they're dead. Which
And they-
when you remember Hypnodisc versus Splinter isn't the worst example. Of
Yeah, but I mean, look
it.
at skip forward however many 12, 15, 17 years. You know who held back Ironside 3 in Series 9 against Pulsar, and it almost cost them the fight because
It
there
did,
was a
yeah.
decision, there was an issue. Like Pussycat, they didn't want to take any risks, and fair enough. Why would you? Everyone knows the producers love Razor. You're not going to give them an excuse to, give it to Razor based on aggression or damage.
Yeah. So yeah, Pussycat ends up slicing up the wheel bearings and damaging its speed controller, and that ultimately kills Razor stone dead. Well, there's a bit the rant afterwards is a bit infamous, and the Team Confusion website does refute this, and they sort of cite Millie Anbug getting ripped apart in the previous round.
But as Ian Lewis said, he never went for any of the.
Yeah, that's fair. Though the Razor team have a long history of spying on their opponents in the pits and then deciding, right, these are the bits we can put lots of holes in that won't cost too much to replace. The stuff that they can pull off the wheels of Millie Anbug and it won't take too much to fix that. Whereas a speed controller is pretty darn expensive.
It's a fair point, actually. I never really thought about it like that.
Yeah. That ultimately, I don't condemn either side in this particular case. I think, Ian Lewis has a bit of a temper on him, and but they probably shouldn't have pointed a camera at him while he was pissed off. I think that was.
Yeah.
I think they should have because
like
it makes
Jarvis
good
in
TV.
Series
But
10.
Yeah, like as
makes
far
good
as
TV,
know,
but
he
that's
was pretty calm,
for-
like
that's
10
for the
minutes
Razor episode.
afterwards, and
Yeah,
then
I mean,
pretty much.
at the end of the day,
Yeah. We'll
how,
to the actual fallout of
puts-
this, I suppose, in Extreme 1.
Yeah.
that put this shock upset puts Pussycat through to the semi-finals, and they fight Thermidor. And I didn't, of all the bots you expect to give Pussycat a real fight, you wouldn't expect Thermidor.
Yeah, this is the season where it fights Hypnodisc, Razor, Dominator 2, and Chaos 2, and yet Thermidor 2 gives the best. Like, obviously Chaos 2 wins the fight, but Thermidor 2 puts on such an amazing display. It's such a good fight.
It is. Yeah.
And the thing is, like, this is, as I mentioned in the Thermidor episode, this is the bot that will later on go on to lose, that will go on to be killed in one shot by, like, Stinger.
Mm.
And yet, Thermidor 2 takes punishment here, and for the first half of this fight, Thermidor is dominating it.
It is, yeah.
The thing is, Flippers run out of gas, and that's exactly what happens to Thermidor here. And from and after Thermidor starts like slowing down, that's when Pussycat takes advantage.
Yeah, and when if you look at like Thermidor towards the end of the fight, it's got all these cuts and scratches and claw marks in it, and like its own pincer has been bent out of shape, and
that's the
around.
thing. Like
Pussycat is a push bot apparently.
The flips can only cause Pussycat to lose points, but every point it loses in aggression or control, it more than makes up for in damage.
Yeah.
Thermidor is looking quite a sorry sight by the end of this.
Yeah, and it comes down to the judges, and the judges rule in favour of Pussycat. Alan Gribble.
It's a fantastic.
Alan Gribble gives credit to the Thermidor team. You know, they were the first guys to damage Pussycat, which is, you know.
Yeah, considering they went up against Razor, pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic fight though. Like this episode in general is one of the best Robot Wars ever saw.
Yeah. Series 4 is so good. Like, it's got some duds in it, but God, it's a good series.
Yeah, it's worth pointing out here. That they do spell Pussycat with 2 words, and it's so weird.
Yeah,
it looks wrong.
It does, yes.
But I also love the thing Alan Gribble does in the interview about where he points out that they've sort of drawn little images of the robots they've beaten and put a big cross through it. I love that.
Yeah, no, I love that. Like an old World War II plane with the kill tally on the nose. I love that kind of thing.
Yeah. It is worth noting at this point Robin Herrick has left the team, and it is really just the 2 Gribbles and Robert Beddington. And yeah, Alan's obviously moved from behind the scenes to front of the camera. Is he the captain? I think he is the captain. Yeah. So he goes from Robin to Alan. Yeah, took over his role as captain. There you go. All right. So after Thermidor 2, so lots of beautiful damage and beautiful flips. Really showcases the best of both of those robots. Pussycat goes up against Dominator 2, which is such an unusual fight because you look at it and you're like, what the hell is Pussycat going to do against that plasma nitride-coated titanium armor?
The answer to that is just take it all off, apparently.
Yeah, catch in the armor and just lift the whole shell.
Yeah. Like, it's one of my favourite Pussycat fights, just for that image of Dominator just being, as the wiki puts it, disrobed.
I think that's how JP put it in the recap as well. It's where we got it from.
Yeah. It's, they just shred Dominator 2 in a way that you don't expect a fight to go this kind of way. And then, you know, I mean, Dominator 2's already, its position here is somewhat controversial because arguably it should not have beaten Firestorm, but it did. And then his Pussycat just like ripping its clothes off, apparently, you know.
I do find Dominator 2 a much more refreshing presence in this round of the tournament than Firestorm 2 would have been. Like, heaven knows we would have gotten enough Firestorm round 2 performances, so I really am happy that it's here. Plus, we would get Pussycat v Firestorm next year, so I didn't really I'm not going to miss it.
It's not a missing fight.
Yeah, but yeah, no, it's a beautiful thing. I just realised Pussycat would go on to fight Cat 3 twice, meaning that it's fought on 3 occasions that bi-wedge design with the axe, and it's the most difficult design for Pussycat and Dominator 2 to fight each other. Neither of them can really... they're both designed to run up against flat boxes, and they're both pointed triangles. They're both very, very difficult. Pussycat does a very, very good job at making up for that, though, but poor old Dominator really can't.
Yeah, no, Dominator's not quite there yet. And it's a shame, because, this is my favourite design for Dominator 2, with the tires exposed. And I always thought the wheel guards they put on it for series from Extreme 1 onwards were just fucking ugly. But yeah. I totally get why they put them on that, because they were an obvious weak spot. Pussycat took major advantage of that.
Yeah, because really, it's not that they dislodged the shell, it's that they nicked at it here and there, and then it sort of loosened, and that's when it was able to move it up.
there's one thing here that kind of makes me like one thing I want to remark upon. You never really see the like main body of Pussycat take much damage because I mean
No.
you get I think Razor gets a crush on it in the Extreme one, but apart from that, I mean Tornado knocks the wheels off, but you never really see the main body of Pussycat take damage.
No, they are. It's part of the excellent driving is that they're able to avoid a lot of more punishing hits.
Yeah. Yeah. I do need to put in a correction. I was wrong. Robin Herrick has returned by this point. Pussycat's won a heat, and he's probably said to Robert Beddington, sorry, this is my team. I'm coming back. You're on the sidelines.
Bye.
Yeah.
Presumably. I'm just making that up. It's not necessarily what happened, but I always just found that very funny. Poor old Robert. Didn't get to be in the grand final.
It is weird seeing Dominator 2 get as damaged as it does in this fight because later on, especially in Series 6, Dominator 2 takes on this kind of appearance of invulnerability. I mean, obviously you have Hypnodisc getting the hits in, but it's hard to imagine the body of Dominator 2 taking these big hits, but Pussycat's able to deal them out, and I think that's a lot of what helps them go through.
Yeah. Like you would not give a judge's decision to Dominator 2 in the state that it's in at the end of this, unless the other robot was even worse and basically new. So
yeah, I just absolutely. So
yeah, Pussycat wins this semi-final, and it wins its way into the grand final and into probably the best display of David Gribble's driving skills that we have, because here it takes on Hypnodisc, and I mean if you're placing bets on this fight, you've got Pussycat with its little tiny disc, and then you got Hypnodisc with its its disc is probably 4 or 5 times the size and weight of Pussycat's. But guess who wins here?
And I remember watching this, and as a kid in 2001 or 2002, the year it came out, and it was basically, as soon as we got to this, I said, "Oh, I guess we're just going to get Hypnodisc and Chaos 2 again." All right, and I didn't even consider the possibility that Pussycat would win this.
Especially considering, bear in mind, we are fresh off Hypnodisc destroying Splinter and making a meal thing, and then and it's not only does it not go in Hypnodisc's favour, but it's decidedly Pussycat's win in the opening seconds of the fight.
Yeah,
that's the most surprising thing, because as much as this is a display of David Gribble's skill, it's also kind of extremely lucky, because what Pussycat does here is it just drives straight on into the wheel, and the thing is, that's the only thing they could have done, because if they had allowed Hypnodisc to get up to speed, this fight would be probably as ugly as Splinter.
Yeah, we never saw the
Pussycat blade would
damage well.
Yeah, the Pussycat blade would not have survived a head-on collision against Hypnodisc. I mean, we see that in the fight, because
no,
I'm pretty sure it was either in this fight or in Extreme 1 when they fought again, but even then, they did clip the Hypnodisc disc and it completely buckled the blade. I can't remember which of the two fights.
It is this fight.
It is this fight.
I think
even in victory, they take almost critical damage.
I think that's why. I think it was lasting damage from that hit that caused the blade to crap out on them in the actual final. But yeah, it's we've all three of us have talked about this fight in the Hypnodisc episode.
Yeah,
it's easily one of David Gribble's best driving performances.
It's it's just incredible, because you wouldn't even think. All right, it's like we talked about with Ian Watts with the pitting against Pussycat against Hypnodisc. Just because that's your plan, the chances of it pulling off are so small, and he just goes for it and it works. And I just think, oh my god, that's so incredible.
Yeah, and it's a wonderful bit of TV. I know there are some people that are just very disappointed by this fight because it meant Hypnodisc's easy run to the title was cut short. But God, it's such a brilliant moment for Pussycat, and it's really a shame that it falls at the final hurdle, really, because how good would Series 4 be if there was this run where Pussycat fights all of the big three and beats all of them?
Yeah, that's the thing, and I never really considered it again because yeah,
but it's just the fight with Chaos 2, like, setting aside whether you think Stinger should have been here, Chaos 2 is like, it's kind of a robot where you think Pussycat should be able to do pretty good against it, because it's got, its armor isn't great, and we've already seen Pussycat do a number on things that aren't armored very well. And Pussycat can't be defeated, outright by a flipper. But in the end, Chaos 2 just has this fight. Pussycat's blade dies early on, and that kind of is the point where Pussycat can't win. Dan,
I want to remind you here, Pussycat's blade lasts for a long time. This is a weird performance. I think it lasts, honestly, until near the end of the fight. This is just a strange performance. Like, I think, honestly, like, this is more Chaos. I think this is more David Gribble meeting someone who's his equal in driving, because Chaos 2 just is very good at keeping away from the blade. Like, they're very good at keeping in at Chaos 2 at Pussycat's sides.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think it's a weird performance from Pussycat. It's honestly their weakest in the entire series, and
yeah, and they are on the back foot
Chaos
almost from the entire fight.
Yeah.
Whereas David Gribble is usually in control, and when it's always been the case. You'll see it in Series 5 as well. When Pussycat's not winning, it is not winning.
No, and it's not great against wide wedges.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fact that it's extremely flippable. It can overcome that if it can overcome the flips, as we saw in Thermidor 2. But Chaos 2 is quite a step up from Thermidor. So
yeah, this is Chaos 2 at its absolute best.
Yeah, and Chaos 2 doesn't have the same weak points that Thermidor 2. Like, Thermidor 2 had the claws and
big exposed tires.
Yeah. Whereas here, Chaos 2 really is just like they get the obvious damage on Pussycat's and Chaos 2's polycard panel, but that's really all they were ever going to do once the battle started going this way. It is a disappointing, because it is a little bit of a. It's almost in a weird way like the Series 9 Grand Final, where there's nothing wrong with it, but it just feels like such an anticlimax.
Yeah.
I don't agree, because it's nice to have at least one two-time finalist. It's nice that Chaos 2 can join the ranks.
Not the outcome. I'm not saying the outcome is an anticlimax. I'm just saying the
fight itself is very. Yeah, the fight itself is pretty disappointing.
Yeah, it's not a stellar fight. Like, it is a Series 9, but it is just like, well, yeah, that in hindsight it just seems like the obvious thing that was going to happen. But at the same time, I do like that we have Chaos 2 as the sole double champion. I think if Carbide had won Series 10, it would diminish this, because then there'd be another double champion. But with the fact that Chaos 2 is still the only televised robot to win the competition twice, it makes it something special.
Yeah. So that's a good way to put it. Unfortunately, we are not yet done with Pussycat, because now...
Well, yeah, it was nominated for 2 awards, Best Design and Most Original Entry, but unfortunately Gemini existed this series. So
yeah, it is a shame that Pussycat never got to win an award like that, because it's just it's so deserving. Like, I know it won a sportsmanship award, and it won every side competition there was in existence, but I would have loved their design to have been recognised.
See, I would have given it Best Design, because Gemini was novel and innovative, but it wasn't. It didn't, work that well.
Yeah, that's right.
It came in with two half-weight robots that had a risk of stranding themselves on their backs, and then got fucking bodied by tornado.
Exactly.
I don't mind Gemini winning. Maybe
Original.
give him best engineered or something.
No, original
Best
entry.
original,
Original
yeah.
entry is the perfect thing to give Gemini.
Yeah, but best design, I would give it to Pussycat because it worked so well in a way that you really wouldn't expect it to. Whereas, Gemini was, it was innovative but disappointing. But yeah, then unfortunately, we have to talk about the celebrity special.
The
Pussycat.
first combat trophy for Pussycat.
Yeah, under the control of an EastEnders actor with its underside covered in tinfoil.
Honestly, I've got nothing because I forgot about this entire tournament until a few minutes ago. So, I guess let's talk about it. What a way to wrap up Pussycat in Series 4, I guess.
I know, we end this astonishing run in Series 4 with them being controlled by... I can't even remember the guy's name.
Adam
Woodyard.
All I know is I think his character on EastEnders just is like constantly like humiliated and defeated in life, basically.
Yeah.
Which I mean would be more fitting for like an Iron rather than a Pussycat.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, that's right. Hey, I also forgot to mention before, the Series 4 Grand Final was another Series 1 Grand Final grudge match.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Jesus.
And that's the last one we'll get, because unfortunately Tracy never returned, and Pussycat never fought Roadblock or Beast of Bodmin. So,
yeah, which is, it would have killed Beast of Bodmin.
I think it would have killed a lot of things in Series 3, but unfortunately, hardened steel disc.
Yeah, oops. Yeah, but that's the other unfortunate thing about this, is that now we also have to talk a bit more about Series 4 Iron Ore, which is just the worst. So, if we weren't guaranteed to be doing an episode on Iron Ore in the future, we would be talking about Iron Ore in Series 4 shitbox, because it's that bad.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's God, these fights are hard to discuss because they are so bad.
Yeah, they really are. It's like, it almost makes you question why they even do the celebrity special in Series 4.
I don't think this. I mean, at the very least, the the celebrity special here is better than the one in like Series 9.
Oh yeah,
is it?
It is too.
Like,
because at least they're real robots,
and at least they're real celebrities. Like, people know who Ian Beale is. No one knows who the astronomer lady or whatever behind Interstellar MML is. No one knows. At least people know these people.
I don't know any of these people, to be honest, and that's been my biggest complaint. Is that you guys live in the country where you have every single obscure Harry Potter and every single obscure Game of Thrones actor. You couldn't get a single one of those, and you get all these celebrities who I've never heard of. Like, you couldn't
Harry
get
Potter movies weren't a thing yet.
Doesn't matter.
Game of Thrones,
like, it's like, get someone like Jason Isaacs, or get somebody like Hodor's actor. I'd be down for that. That'd be fun.
What, in 2000?
No, in the reboot one, the Series 9 one is what I'm talking about. This one, I don't know. Just get Craig Charles to drive one of the robots. That'd be hilarious. He's a celebrity.
I'm looking at the list of people that were actually in the series.
Can I bring up my favorite? Can I bring up my favorite bit of trivia again? The celebrity special. I think there are at least 5 people who have scored a UK #1 in the celebrity special.
Was Vic Reeves one of them?
Vic Reeves, the guy from 5. I think there's a Westlife guy in there. Jonathan Pierce. I can't quite remember the other one, but I think it's a singer of some sort.
Like, oh god, but no. Look, let's be fair. Looking
One
at
of the Gemini girls.
Celebrity special, I recognise 2 of these names in this list. Vic Reeves and Chris Eubank. And I only recognise Chris Eubank because of Eubank the Mouse.
I only recognise Chris Eubank because of Robot Wars.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know who any of these people are.
Yeah.
Like,
man, I mean, if you told me that there was an episode of Series 4 which contained Disco Inferno, Gemini, and Killatron, I would have been like, what? Tell me what this episode is. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Why would this be an episode? Like, that doesn't exist.
I watched. I mean, I was 5 years old when this came out, so I didn't watch enough like TV that these people were on for me to recognize any of them. But yeah, it's God, it was rough. It was a rough watch. Even when I was, 5 years old and with no actual critical thinking skills, this was not a good episode of Robot Wars.
No. And for a very long time, it was one of the lost episodes. Like, back in when we were making the wiki, this is the one that was not... The only evidence of it on YouTube was the Gemini Killatron fight. Everything else was like, didn't exist. And when they finally uploaded it, I watched every episode, every fight eagerly going, oh my God, this is going to be great. And they all stank. Every single fight was so bad. How do you make an episode with Dietor, Sacromalot, and like all these guys? How do you make it so boring? I don't understand.
Yeah.
I will say though, at the very least, Robot Wars knew to keep its celebrities out of the main series. BattleBots had Gary Coleman, I think, in their main series in Series 5. So
don't forget Chin Killer.
Oh yeah. At least you never had to have Jonathan Ross, like, driving Carbide in Series 10 or something.
Like, these celebrities... I'm pretty sure John Reed's brother is a famous driver, like a Formula 1 driver, and John Reed, I think, that guy's brother, John Reed, is more of a celebrity than half of these people, in my opinion.
Yeah, but that's because we made him a meme.
Yeah. Oh, man.
But, oh, God. Yeah, like, I mean, Pussycat, it fights fucking Iron Ore, and that it's painful because it's an Iron Ore Series 4 fight. And then Natalie Cassidy just joins the Pussycat team. Then it fights Chromalot, and that goes badly because
that's a Series 4 Chromalot fight.
Yeah, Series 4 Chromalot was just not good, and then it ends up in the final, and it's against Dietor. So it's a Dietor fight, so Dietor ends up on fire.
Yeah.
There's this interesting bit where the fur becomes an entanglement device as it gets wrapped around the Pussycat blade and stops it spinning. And so Pussycat sticks the blade into the flame pit to burn the fur off. And then Dietor catches on fire and loses power and ends up in the pit. Because
it's amazing to think that Disco Inferno had lost to Sacromalot, and if they had managed to beat Sacromalot, the two Annihilator champions of Extreme 1 would have fought in the second round.
Yeah. But it was Series 4 Disco Inferno. It died against fucking Shadow of Napalm.
And Major Tom and Sacromalot. What a combat record. But we get off topic.
Oh god, yeah.
So Pussycat picks up its first combat trophy, which is a bizarre one for considering how successful a robot Pussycat would be. Its first combat trophy is the Celebrity Special of Series 4. But, there you go.
And another link to Extreme 1, Pussycat and Dietor will become tag team Terror partners.
Also fun knowledge. Alright, well, that's it. So going forward, we'll split the episode here, and in the next half we'll cover the second half of Team Cold Fusion's career. The team would sort of all scatter to the 4 wins, so the Pussycat, the Team Cold Fusion that we know would continue on with Pussycat, until the end of Series 5. Then it would go a restructure. Robin Herrick leaves at the end of Series 4, and he will make a weird resurgence in Series 8 with his 2 new robots. And yeah, that's all part for another day, another podcast, another adventure.
Yeah, so
indeed,
what is your favourite fight from these?
Jesus. Probably Pussycat Thermidor 2.
It's a good shout.
That's a really good shout.
My nostalgia leans on the Hypnodisc fight because it's such a a raw memory for me. Like I remember watching that fight for the first time, like back in like 2001, so well. But I think as a leaning towards Dominator 2.
I think it's Robo Chicken, but I really do think Thermidor 2 is the best fight. Robo Chicken is my favourite.
I think pretty much
that shout.
everything from Robo Chicken to Hypnodisc is like a solid shot. They're all fantastic fights.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't covered a lot to make it worth, to give ourselves a lot of options, because we're not going to talk about the Bodyhammer ones.
Yeah,
Actually, no, I lie. It's the Series 1 Grand Final. That's my favourite.
Oh.
No.
Of course
that's cheating. Like, no. We do have to approach it as a fight starring the robot we're talking about. Because, like, otherwise it's like, Splinter fight is the fucking Hypnodisc one. And that's not a Splinter fight. That's Hypnodisc kicking Splinter's corpse around the arena for 10 minutes. I
don't know. Toast was able to say that his favourite Chronic the Hedgehog fight was the Mighty Mouse loss, so I can say this.
But Toast is...
Toast is a strange man.
Be the change that you want to see in the world, as they say.
Yeah, no. No, oh, God.
Anyway.
We've come to 3 different conclusions there.
Yeah, I like that. Even though we've got a limited sort of span, we've all got 3 different choices. We've all got a spare as well. So
yeah, like whereas with an episode like Hypnodisc Part 1, it was all just like, yeah, you all said the Splinter fight.
Yeah, and the second half, everyone says the bigger brother fight.
Yeah, because it's the best fight in the show. So of course we all said that one. But even with a limited roster, we have come to 3 separate conclusions, and that's nice.
Yeah,
and speaks a lot to the quality of fight that Pussycat can put out. Like, it doesn't really have a whole lot of bad ones.
Especially not in this either.
No,
or any era really.
Well, it does have a fair few bad. Oh, that's the thing. So what's the worst fight?
Can I say Cassius 2 because of how much it upsets me?
No, it's a good fight.
I'm gonna go. Am I allowed to pick a Bodyhammer one?
I think you have to.
It's got to be one of the celebrity special fights. Surely.
Yeah.
But just make it. I think it's got to be Iron Ore. Iron Ore's a pretty shocking fight.
Just because, like, it's A, it's the celebrity, and B, it's fucking Iron Ore. Like, full respect to Iron Ore 2.1 and the other later versions of Iron Ore, but the Series 4, the original version, is a properly shit machine. So yeah, I'll say the Iron Ore fight is the worst one, and I can say that fully without really discrediting any member of the Cold Fusion team because it was Adam Woodyard driving. So yeah,
yeah, there you go.
Yeah, so I think that about covers it.
Yeah, Luke, do you have anything? Did you pick your worst favourite? I can't remember.
Worst, yeah, probably one of the celebrity special ones.
Beautiful. Excellent. Well,
anyway, we shall be back next episode to cover Pussycat from Extreme 1 to Series 7, and then we'll cover Team Cold Fusion's strange little reboot career as Killy Cranky and Cranky. Until then, bye.
Adios.
Yep. Farewell.